Welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health, a podcast of resources for restoring vigor and vitality, bringing you top influencers in the men's health arena, case studies of men who have succeeded and how they did it, and cutting-edge teaching on men's health issues from America's leading men's health guru, Dave Skattum. Get ready to take steps towards good health. Here's your host, Dave Skattum.
Hey, Dave Skattum here. We've been talking a lot about affirmations and the power of words. And if you haven't listened to that, my first podcast about some instructions and my thoughts on how to make that effective in your life and some kind of some to-do lists and some practical applications, I'd really encourage you to go back to that first podcast and check that out. It's some really good stuff. But I'm super excited today to have online with me today, a guy that I've met recently that I've really gotten to know and grown fond of, and I've really seen how he's taken these principles and ideas and applied it to his life. And I just want to say a big welcome to Mike Green. Thanks for joining our show today.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Dave.
Sounds good.
Is so strong, and there's nothing greater, really. Especially our own words to ourselves. So,
absolutely. Hey, just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to in your life right now. You've had a lot of cool experiences in your life. Just introduce yourself to my audience and who you are and what you're up to.
Yeah, well, I'm Mike Green, and I live in North Idaho, up here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Moved here about 20 years ago. I grew up on the beaches of San Diego as a kid. Growing up and it all started back then, but I have 5 kids right now and a beautiful wife that have 30 years, and it's just been an awesome journey from one glory to the next. And
nice.
I do real estate and I'm a coach for Whately Global and Napoleon Hill Foundation and up here in North Idaho.
Cool. Hey, so you said you're a coach. What kind of coaching do you do?
Well, just like a life coach, business coach, that kind of thing.
Right.
Cool. I've helped kids, juvenile hall kids, coach them, and basically, what I do is I dig into people and pull out things that they might have forgot about or
nice.
Just try to help them figure out what it is that their purpose is. And,
cool.
If they have challenges and stuff like that, I'm a problem solver. And so I help them work through challenges.
Yeah. So what I so much appreciate about you and who you are as a person is you're such an encourager. And man, I think that's such a powerful thing. And I really appreciate that. But I was curious, we sat down and had coffee and things like that, but and talked about these kinds of things, and you have these great stories about affirmations and the power of words and how that impacted your life. And I'm just curious, just kind of like big high level view of that. What's your thoughts on the power of words and affirmations and how they impact us?
Yeah, well, number one, it always comes from vision. Lack of vision, my people perish. And it always comes down to vision, because without vision, we have nothing. We don't even have words. So, first of all, you got to have vision and purpose in your life. And from that standpoint, then once you get, this excitement inside of you that burns, then with that, then affirmations, because, we speak, I think, like, 70,000 words a day, something like that. It's like 70,000 words. We run 70,000 words through our head a day. So the moment we start to capture some of those thoughts and some of those words and get ourselves into the moment, and sometimes it's called reframing. Because most of those thoughts, I think, like, it's a high number. It's something like 70%. 70% of those thoughts are negative. So we have to reframe those thoughts. So with that, then we have to have affirmations. Now, this is where affirmations comes in, because once we reframe the thought, then we reframe the wording. And when we put the wording into there with the thought, then we have to go one more step further, and we have to throw emotion into it. Because if you don't have the thought with a word and emotion, no changes are going to come about. You see all these affirmations everywhere. You see them everywhere. And I'll tell you a story in a minute. But this, without those three things, it doesn't really take. And so we have to get that burning desire and then put the words in there.
Yeah.
Like for me, when I was a teenager, now I was a rough kid growing up in the beaches of San Diego, and I was going to juvenile hall a lot, and mostly for just fighting and surfing. It was like my way, my beach, go home, that kind of thing. But
rough and tumble, man.
But so you have to get to a point in your life where you want to turn around, you want to make things change, and it's a really decision point. So once you get to that point, then you have to renew your mind. So to renew your mind, you have to make the decision and then renew your mind. And you got to renew your mind with positive words, pictures, and emotion. And so you got to listen to the things that, like for me, it was Dennis Waitley, it was Napoleon Hill. I always, and that's what I did. Is so when I was a kid, I was kind of fortunate because God got a hold of me when I was young then, and I was in juvenile hall, and it was a decision point in my life, and that's when the first time I ever prayed was at that point. Mm-hmm. But then after that, the next day, my dad pops in a tape in the car and says, "Hey, Mike, what do you want to do with your life?" And I said, "I don't know, Dad, but I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to go to juvenile hall anymore. I don't want to go pick up trash anymore, and I don't want to be behind the gate in the fence." And so it's a decision point. But then at that point, then he goes, "Okay, well, then listen to this." And he popped in Psychology of Winning by Dr. Dennis Waitley. And actually, I'm going through a coaching program with him right now to be one of his coaches. But I'll tell you what, that program changed my life, and it all had to do with just restructuring and knowing that you can do things, and there is the only limits we have are the ones we place on ourselves. So we have to really grasp that and know that what do we got to do to change that? And it all has to do with our thinking. It's always the thought first, and then it's really after the thought, then it's speaking to ourselves and really talking to ourselves. The Bible talks about it that that the words of your mouth are either life or death. They'll bring the fruit thereof. And so we have to really talk ourselves into success. We have to really talk ourselves into what it is that we want. And know that that's all it is, really, is getting the picture and seeing it with the words, pictures, and emotion, and then affirming that, because we have to become before we ever are. And so we have to see it in our mind's eye. We have to see it in our heart. And then once we see it in our heart, we're not lying to ourselves, because the mind can't tell the difference between what we vividly imagine and what is actually happening. So when we affirm these things, we're not lying to ourselves. We're actually saying the truth of who we are. Maybe not on the physical level right now, but we already have become that. And the more we replay, because, basically it's imitation, it's observation, imitation, repetition. So once we get that, and we play those pictures over and over, and we play them daily when we're not, right? But we are, then eventually our mind automatically attracts that which we think about, and we become that person that we've already been. And it's just a matter of bringing it out to the outside.
Absolutely. And Mike, I love the way that you, at the beginning, you said it comes from vision, and then it leads to excitement, and then and then it's all about capturing the words and reframing them in a way that brings you to the place that you really need to go, not in a negative way, but in a productive, positive way. And then you reinforce that with your story about, your dad. I could just imagine your dad and you driving home from juvie, popping in that tape and thinking, dude, I have got to change, and it starts today. And it's like you got this vision for your life, and then this vision fed into the excitement, and then you started changing the way you talk to yourself and the way you thought about yourself. And I thought, I thought, man, that's really illustrative of the way affirmation is and the power of words. And it's really cool. Another thing hey, just real quick, the other thing I noticed in this conversation with your dad was, there's a lot of guys out there that don't have a dad like yours that isn't supportive and encouraging. Instead, they're knocking them down, and it's not like your dad was saying, hey, Mike, let's figure this out. And he gave you words of affirmation and positivity. And so, how is it that you come up with these words of affirmation? You mentioned vision and excitement, but how, like personally, can you give an example of a way that you come up with them?
Well, the way you come up with them is, first of all, you think about whatever it is that you want to be good at or whatever it is that you want to change. Yeah. And then you affirm what you want to be. I mean, we can't focus on the reverse of an idea. Otherwise, we just become that. So basically, when we say, I am this, I am strong, I am smart, I am whatever it is, you fill in the blank, right? And then you have to see yourself as that person as you are already. So, and so that's where the vision comes in with the affirmation. And then, you have to get excited about it. You have to get emotional about it. You have to pull that energy in and attach it to the words. So that way, actually, the words will mean something. Now, I mean, you can listen to affirmations all day and just let them run, and maybe your subconscious will pick them up. But the more you can get emotional into it, like when you do affirm it, then it actually means something to your body and your mind, where it connects the two. And so as far as writing affirmations, it's just a matter of just finding whatever it is that your goal is, and then you just say you affirm who you are.
Yeah. What jumping into that a little bit deeper? How it seems like to me, and I've been in times like this in my life where I was just kind of wandering more aimlessly. So how is it that you do capture that vision, and how is it that you can initiate that process of finding vision and getting excitement and change in your life?
Self-reflection is really big. Sometimes you have to take time out, and you have to go someplace where it's quiet, and you have to put some mood music on and just kind of get into your imagination. And you got to go back to when you're a little kid and kind of just start pulling things out of yourself. What you used to like, what you used to dream about, what you wanted to be, who you wanted to become. And sometimes when you come to the conclusion after you've come to the point back to where you are, and you don't really, you kind of gather all that information up. Now, if you don't know what you want to do and you gather that information up, sometimes you got to reinvent it. Sometimes you just got to guess at it and go for it. Because we all know that, if we don't make up our mind to do something, if we don't have a goal, then basically we're drifting. And if we drift, then we're working for other people with goals, and then we're doing other things where and we're kind of aimlessly adrift. We have to have that rudder, and we got to steer to the port. If we don't have the port to call, then we're just going to wander, and then we're going to end up on the rocks or the ground, and we're going to hate life and get depressed, and that's, I think that's what 98% of the people in the world don't know their definite major purpose. And so I think that our purpose, when we don't know our purpose, is to find our purpose. And sometimes we have to guess at what that be,
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, good stuff, man. This is so good about, finding that vision, getting excitement, changing reframing the way you talk to yourself and to others. What, just kind of in closing, if we could just wrap this up, what kind of bullet points would you hand out to guys that are listening to this podcast? And then if you have anything that you are currently working on, if you want to just give get that, if you want to talk about what you're doing and give out some information, if you want people to contact you and that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I would say, in closing that PMA has an acronym that I like to use. We all know it's positive mental attitude, but In the real aspect of it, we have to get real with ourselves. To get the positive mental attitude, there's a requirement, there's an ingredient, and it comes from within. And so with that being said, it always starts with three things. Or it starts with one thing. The one thing is P. P is prayer. You know, if you're not religious, that's okay. But, you know, if you're silent and you just listen, you might hear a voice. And it's through prayer where you give your what you're asking for. It's always, that's where the starting point is, acknowledging that there's a higher intelligence, that there's somebody out there that's kind of like created you and everything in this world. And so that's where it started for me, was in prayer. Just one little prayer. I don't remember what that prayer was, but I do know that from that prayer, my life changed. And the second one is M, and I like to say meditate. And meditate to me is like just to think about and dwell on the things that I desire, and visualize and put words, pictures, and emotions into that. And that's what's happened to me as far as changing my life, you know, and how I get excited and how I get enthusiasm. You know, God in us is what enthusiasm means. And so I think that we spark that desire inside of us, and all of a sudden it starts a fire. The third thing is action. Action with, it's like faith without action is dead. We can't do anything without moving forward. So we must move forward. Right. We must move on those goals and those plans and those visions that we've had. We write them down, we make a map, and we go after it with massive action. Yeah. And then with that, I think that you have success anywhere you go.
Yeah, cool. All right. Any website or email or anything?
I'm up here in North Idaho. Look me up. I'm in real estate too. I have a website, cdamike.com. That's cdamike.com. And just message me through there, and I can get a hold of you one way or the other. Cool. And that's it. And I'm here. You know, basically my mission is to love, encourage, inspire, and help anybody that needs it. So, if you ever need anything, just let me know.
All right. Hey, Mike, really appreciate you being on the show today. And I'm definitely going to get you back on for a couple other subjects. I know you're a deep well with some great content, so I'll be mining you. So thanks a lot, Mike, for being on the show, and you have a great day.
You too, brother. We'll see you.
You've been listening to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health with Dave Skattum. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit the 4pillarsofmenshealth.com.